out marvelously because we now have the honor of having Tina Essmaker speak with us. Tina is a New York-based coach, writer, and former editor-in-chief of the Great Discontent magazine, for which she interviewed more than 250 notable subjects about their creative journeys. As a coach, Tina helps the creative community reach beyond inspiration to take action. Her writing addresses vulnerability, empathy, and themes we wrestle with as creatives. I had the privilege of seeing Tina speak over the summer, like about a year ago, actually, and I was so impressed. I think she has just an incredible personal story of resilience and strength and grace in the face of difficulty, and I'm thrilled to have her here. I did ask her, Tina, what are you most proud of? She said, I am most proud of realigning my values with my work and launching my coaching practice last year. What are you most excited about? She said, I'm excited to live into my own possibility and show others that they can too. Please welcome Tina Essmaker.
You guys got a little preview of that second slide there. We are told to hustle harder, longer, faster, and more. But when is it enough? We tell ourselves things like, it's expected of me. Everyone else is doing it. People need me. There's never enough time. But I'll feel guilty. I'll slow down when. I know because I told myself all of these things for years, and I said yes to the hustle and no to my life. Some of you might know my work. I'm co-founder and former editor-in-chief of the Great Discontent magazine. I spent years interviewing creatives about their journeys and sharing their stories with readers around the world. It was a privilege to do that work, but that work became my entire life. I have the tweets to prove it. Oops. Oh, here we go. So that work became my life, and it started with a digital magazine, which we launched in, I'll get to the tweets in a minute, a digital magazine which we launched in 2011, and then a Kickstarter in 2014 to make our first print issue. After we had a print issue, we needed an online shop. Online shop, more print issues. And then we launched a live event series in New York City where I hosted 20 events over the course of 24 months. I was exhausted, but there was more work to do. We recorded the audio from the live events and published it to a podcast in iTunes. Then another Kickstarter, because you've done one, you can do another, right? Plus, there was all the day-to-day of running a business, social media, press, distribution and shop support for the magazines, and coordinating partnerships. Here we get to the tweets. So I wore my busyness as a badge of honor, and I threw myself into my work, and I threw myself into the hustle. Worked way too late, now time to unwind with some episodes of No Reservations. Working again, but it doesn't really feel like work, so maybe I'm not really working. I swear I'm working in between Twitter distractions. When you listen to Rihanna's new album multiple times, will you work, 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 and then realize you worked through lunch? When Monday calls for a late work night, what do? Margaritas and Mexican food at the studio, of course. When you get to the studio before 9 a.m., it's now after 7 p.m., and you've moved from the desk to the couch, and you're drinking a beer and still working. So I did this for years, and anytime family or friends wanted some of my time, I had a lot of excuses, right? And maybe you guys have said these things yourselves. I can't talk now, I'll call you later, I'm on a really tight deadline, I'll let you know when I have some time. Like I really want to, I can't. It's just really hectic right now, you understand, right? You know I would if I could. There's so much to do, and if I take a break, I will get behind. Not now, later. I promise, we'll hang out soon. So I thought that the hustle was effective because I was working all of the time. How could I not be being productive, right? And I thought that the hustle was fulfilling because I never stopped to ask myself if it really was. But in January 2017, I came face to face with both of these questions. When, on the eve of Trump's inauguration, my husband and business partner ended our marriage. And everything stopped for me. Everything. The hustle was no longer real. The hustle could not sustain me in this new crisis. The hustle wasn't real, but what was? The anxiety was real. The burnout was real, and the emptiness was real. When the hustle stopped and I was left alone in the silence and the stillness of my life for the first time in years, I didn't know who I was outside of work. But around that time, my dear friend Frank gave me a book of poems by Mary Oliver. And there was one piece that struck me, and I'm going to read it for you today. It's called The Journey. One day, you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried, but you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. I knew that I had to go out into the world, and I had to take responsibility for the only life that I could take responsibility for, which was mine. So for 6 years, I invested my life in the Great Discontent. And I am very, very proud of the work that I put out, but I am not proud of how I did it. I'm not proud that I neglected my physical, mental, and emotional health, and I'm not proud that I neglected the people who I said I cared about the most. And so when my marriage ended and I transitioned out of the business, I embarked on a new journey. No longer would I look at life through the lens of what am I missing, what am I lacking, and how can I fill it? I would look at my life through the lens of what can I be grateful for, what opportunities do I have, and what kind of life do I want to create moving forward? So the universe had created space in my life, a lot of space, and I got to choose how to fill it. I started by investing in the things that I had neglected, myself and my personal relationships. And I freelanced to pay the bills while I was deciding what I would do next for my career. I wasn't sure if I would work for myself or someone else, but I knew that I would not rejoin the hustle. I also knew that that would be really hard because it's very easy to get swept up into the sea of busyness. And so there were 3 things I did that became the foundation for my new life and that helped me to ensure that my calendar continued to align with my values. And I want to share those 3 things with you guys today. The Norwegian explorer Erling Kagi says, "Silence is about rediscovering through pausing the things that bring us joy." When was the last time you paused to think about what fulfills you? In work, in life, in relationships? This was the work that I had to do, because at 36, I was clueless. I had no idea who I was. And the first thing I started with was finding my North Star. The sheets of paper you see on the screen, that's my North Star, or stars, if you will, and they're posted by my bedside, and I see them morning and night, and they guide every decision that I make in my life. So I started by identifying the major areas of my life, and I chose work, personal life, and relationships. And then I asked myself, I really asked myself, what do I need to be fulfilled in each of these areas? And I listed 5 words for each area. And then, because I love the meaning of words, I got out my dictionary, well, digital dictionary, and I looked up the meaning of those words, and I defined them for myself, and I asked how I wanted them to manifest in my life. So for example, in my work life, one of my words is growth, and to me that means continuous opportunities to take risks, be uncomfortable, like get up on a stage in front of a lot of people, and develop my talent and skills. The poet and author David White says, being unappreciative might mean we are simply not paying attention. The second thing I did was cultivate gratitude, and this was really challenging because I had lost so much, it felt like there might not be anything left to be grateful for. But I made it a regular practice, and I would sit down with my journal, and I would ask myself, what am I grateful for today? What wins have I had this week? And what opportunities have emerged? And the more I practiced gratitude, the more things I found to be grateful for. Practicing gratitude literally changed the way that I saw my world. Mary Oliver again. I did not give to anyone the responsibility for my life. It is mine. I made it and can do what I want to with it. This was the hardest thing. I could identify my North Star, I could practice gratitude all day, but I had to make it real. And I knew that if I did not write it down, it would not be real. So the sheets of paper you see here are my goals for this quarter, April through June. And I began this practice where I started with really broad strokes. What does my ideal life look like? What does an ideal day look like? An ideal week? How do I want my life to feel? How do I want to feel in my life? Where am I now? Where do I want to go? And what steps will I take to get there? I made a huge list for the steps I needed to take. And it was overwhelming. So I broke that list down into quarterly goals, as detailed as possible, and those also hang by my bedside, and they remind me of the work that I'm here to do. So doing these 3 things led me to the work I'm doing now as a coach, and it is some of the most meaningful work that I've done yet. I went to get certified last fall and opened my practice, and now I get to work one-on-one with creatives to help them take action in their own lives. But doing these things also led to a really meaningful life. I joke with my friends that last year was the best, worst year of my life. And it's true. There was grief and loss and transition and a lot of hard stuff. But there was also joy and connection and healing. You might be in the midst of a hustle right now, and you might think that you can't stop. And maybe you can't, but maybe you can. For me, it took a huge life-changing event, my divorce, to realize that I could live differently. But for you, it doesn't have to be a big life-changing event. You can start today. I'm a coach, and so at the end of each call, my coachees give themselves homework. I'm going to give you a little homework today. I want you to get out your calendar, not right now, but maybe tonight, tomorrow, next week, and take a look at how you fill your days. And I want you to take an hour for yourself and write it in. And I want you to pick something that fills you with joy, and I want you to use that hour to do it. Give yourself permission. Start with an hour. And if you do it and you want to let me know how it goes, shoot me an email. I'd love to hear. My friend Danielle says, you can have your hustle. And I agree with her. You can have your hustle because I don't want it. I want the cadence of my life to reflect what I value. And for me, that means slowing down and creating a life from the inside out. I believe that it's possible to do meaningful, rewarding work and live a meaningful life. And I believe that it's possible to be both content and ambitious. And I'm going to leave you with your homework to start with an hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. What did I tell you? What a story. She's incredible. And I was just taking notes, taking pictures. I know Andy was trying to move back out of my way. I took pictures of pretty much every screen. And just, when people can just be authentic and true and just share their story, it's so meaningful, so very meaningful. So we have our closing keynote now. And I, again, have the pleasure of introducing this speaker who I've got to know over the years and have such respect for. And, well, I'll just do my introduction. At the end of 2017, the graphic design community lost a giant, one of the pioneers of graphic design, Ivan Chermayeff. Sagi Haviv started his professional career as an intern at Chermayeff and Geismar. Today, the firm is known as Chermayeff, Geismar, Haviv. Working side by side with Ivan for almost 15 years, taught Sagi many lessons about design, client relationships, and life, some of which he will discuss today. I asked Sagi, what are you most proud of? And he said, we have a great team at the firm, and I'm so proud of them and thankful to whatever good luck brought them our way. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to our stage, Sagi Haviv.